Hi, I'm going to do a nice short session now just to warm us all up on a frosty, snowy morning. So come in and get comfortable. Right? Find yourself a few props. You might like using yoga blocks to sit up on. I'm not a great fan of them. I find them a little hard and rigid. So if you have a firmer blanket, you can always fold that till you get a nice block. Right? So I'm just going to bring that behind me, and actually I might place my meditation cushion there as well, just to slightly elevate my pelvis so that I can sit with more ease with the legs crossed. If this isn't the easiest of poses for you, remember to take even more height underneath your pelvis to elevate it a little more. Or indeed, just move the feet, the ankles further away, and just stacking those ankles one on top of the other. That should take any pressure off the hips. Right? So that's for you to decide. And if you prefer, sit on a chair. Right? There's always options. You have choices. Right? Don't forget that. So I'm sitting here this morning with woolly socks on, and just beginning with using a little bit of my own touch to help ground me. At this time of the year, there's so much going on. There's sometimes a level of conflict between what you need and what you feel that you need to do. And they don't always align themselves as nicely as we'd like them to. So finding some space to answer to your needs on a physical and emotional level is fundamental. And I think a simple practice really helps us to do this. And then you can move on with the rest of your day and get on with your to-do list, which I hope isn't too long. So just taking this little bit of time and using my touch on my folded legs, even touching a little into the pelvic area, right? A little weight into those beautiful bones of the pelvis, right? And a sense of the legs almost dropping away out of the hip sockets. Right? Helps me to become a little more earthed. And the second step for me personally, and I think for many of us, is to then access my breath. To drop my gaze or indeed close the eyes. So I invite you to do that now yourself. And just beginning to quietly notice the ripples that become waves that wash down and through us. And at the end of that out breath, this sense that your inhalation can now come flowing back in. So never worry about your in-breath. Whenever you're feeling your breath is stuck somewhere in the body, not as accessible as you'd like it to begin with, just focus on that exhale. So just soften and relax the mouth, the jaw. You might want to give that a little wiggle. You might want to use a little touch here. You might need a yawn or a sigh. And then as you breathe out, right, just blow the breath away. Have a sense of it moving down and through you and helping you to discover the earth beneath. And then the inhalation flows back in unhindered. Each inhalation comes to nourish us. Wonderful. I don't know how you're feeling this morning, right? But I'm feeling chilly and keeping the scarf wrapped around my mid area. Think of keeping your kidneys nice and warm. Right? So winter time, the element is water, and the organs relating to that are our kidneys and bladder. Right? So really nice to think about keeping this area warm, right? As well as our feet. Right? And just bringing a little shrug into your shoulders. Again, there's to-do lists. You may be carrying a lot of baggage here. I'm just giving my shoulders a shrug. Again, spontaneously, a yawn or a sigh needs to release. Just relax the arms by your side before drawing those shoulders up towards your ears and softening back down. And we can just do that 2 or 3 times, drawing them up to the ears and allowing them to soften back down. And then an invitation to draw those shoulder blades snugly into the spine itself. And then relax. And squeeze and release. And squeeze and then relaxing the hands back to the ground. Draw those shoulders down from your ears, and maybe even get a sense then of reaching out through your fingertips, a little tingling sensation maybe down through the channels of the arms. And don't hold it for too long. Literally can be a breath before softening. And then hands resting on your folded legs. You could just let the chin drop, feel a little rounding in the upper back as you draw those shoulder blades away from one another. Relax. Exhaling to feel that lovely opening, and inhaling. Just to come back to where you were. Maybe one more. Don't overly worry whether you're inhaling as you round the back or exhaling, but just tap into the rhythm of your breath and how that fits with the movement for you. You know, there's so many ways to breathe, to move, combinations of. There's not one right way that suits all. And I'm just going to bring that all together to shrug the shoulders up, roll those shoulder blades back and down and forward and up, back and down and forward, back and down and forward. So you get this lovely rolling of the shoulders in a much more fluid way, and a sense of how that impacts on the whole spine, on the position of your head, and letting the arms join in. So we discover and find our wings, right? The upper back, the shoulders, the arms, the elbows, the wrists, the fingertips. And enjoy just reaching. And then we can let the palms, right, open up and just rest them in our lap. And always returning back to the flow of your breath. It's wonderful constant. As we sit, feel free to unfold, refold the legs as and when you wish. Just remembering, if you've brought the left foot in first time, then as you refold the legs, bring the opposite foot in first. It's the idea of keeping a sense of balance, right, within us. Again, you might need a little bit of a wriggle. You might want to pull the flesh away from those sit bones, right? And just have a moment with eyes resting. Have a moment to sense into the muscles that are your pelvic floor. I know that's not very well named. These muscles are not floor-like, as in flat. They're this wonderful hammock of muscles, and they are multi-layered. So when you exhale, every now and again, you could just have a visualization that you're beginning to gather the muscles that are attached, the pubic bone, the tailbone, your 2 sit bones, a sense that you're gathering those muscles inwardly and up, right? And you inhale and you allow these muscles to soften and relax just as your belly does, as it expands with each new breath. You exhale, the belly gathers, as does your pelvic floor from underneath, gathering and lifting. So each exhale brings this sense of contraction, and each inhalation a sense of softness and expansion as we fill with each new breath. Now, if you can practice that a few times, especially if you it's not as connected to the muscles within the pelvic region as you'd like to be, right? Then play with that idea of the gathering or lifting as you breathe out, right? And then really visualizing and appreciating the soft expansion that comes with the inhalation. With time, you can become more nuanced in your way of relating to these muscles. But let's just accept that they are very much in connection with your lower abdominals, into the lower back, right? All are connected. So hands resting on knees for a moment. Again, drop the gaze. Appreciate your breath as it moves in through your nostrils. Exhaling out through the mouth if you wish. Let each inhalation start to attract you towards the sky above, out of the waistline, out through the crown of your head. And each exhalation, you feel that sense of being drawn down by gravity through the bones of your pelvis, your legs. And just simply focusing in on our breath begins to warm us up. So let's add in a little alternate nostril breathing. So just bringing one arm in front. If you struggle keeping this arm here and the hands in position, then just bring your other arm across the body so you can just rest that elbow. So my right elbow, because I'm right-handed, in the palm of my left hand. My thumb is just going to close the right nostril. My first two fingers are just ready to close the left, and the other two fingers can just rest in my palm. So it's the softest of touch. You're just closing the flow of breath through one nostril and then the other. Okay, so I come to close my right nostril, breathe in through the left. Swapping to my first two fingers as then I exhale out through the right. Inhale back in. Closing the right nostril. Exhale out through the left. In through the left. Close softly the left nostril to breathe out through the right. In through the right. Close softly, and so on. You can just move back and forth. Alternate nostril breathing. And you can do that for quite a while if you're comfortable with it. Or pause at any point. When you're ready to end, just wait for that moment as you release the right nostril to breathe out through the right. Let your hand come down, resting the left once more. And really enjoy the breath traveling in through both nostrils and back out through both nostrils, and so on. I'm already feeling much warmer. I'm just going to bring the palms of my hands together and Give them a brisk rub. It's always the extremities that can feel a little chillier. No? So nice just to keep an eye on them. Right? Lovely. And shake out the hands. Give a little shrug. And we'll just let the hands rest on the two knees as then we just shift our weight around the base. Okay, and the chin just dropping a little. The breath softly moving you. Sense not only of the circular movement within the base of your pelvis, your folded legs, but also of your breath. Change the direction at any point. You can let the head feel nice and heavy. You might just play it, shifting the weight a little from one side to the other. Heavy head. The more we can let go and drop the head, the more any tension that you're holding onto in your neck, say, or your shoulders, the more opportunity for it to release. And then just find your way back. Sit beautifully in both sit bones. Remembering just to be a little to the front so that you don't start leaning back and tailbone slipping forward. Right? So when we come more to the front of the sit bones, it should feel free and unrestricted around the coccyx, your tailbone, right? And freer to lift up out of your waistline. Keep that lovely sense of lift. And as I said, I'm going to just freely release, refold the legs, sit in another simpler pose, or come into kneeling. I'm just going to say sit because I'm quite comfortable with that. So let's just take our spine on a well-earned journey this morning. So just touching the ground lightly, letting the right palm reach out to the right. Get it reaching from the spine itself. Right? Lovely sense that there's a fluidity here. There's something rippling on down and through you and beyond those fingertips. Right? And then you can just let that arm begin to fly up. So get this lovely lift out of your right hip. You can drop down onto the finger pads or the palm of that left hand. And just a reminder to keep our shoulder blades gently drawing back. And breathe. You might just take your gaze towards the upper hand and let that hand move back a little more. Then you could bring it forward. Drop your gaze for a moment. Let it fly back up again, reaching back. Coming back down. So just lots of lovely fluid movement around the spine. You can come back then into the side body and really appreciate that dropping and lifting through the right. Little shrug of shoulder blades to spine. And then let that right hand float down. So sense now just moving a little closer to this right leg. Hands might slide a little further away. And if you're happy to, you can let the head release, soften. So keep dropping into this back right rib, hip. And then we can slide that left hand forward. Back towards the feet. So play, as you shift from one side to the other. You never have to repeat something exactly the same. If anything, it's wonderful for us to discover many varied neural pathways within the body. Again, it's appreciating, enjoying that sense of reach from the heart, from the spine. Now here you can play with mobility within the wrist. Right? Find that little fold within the wrist joints. And then if you're happy to keep reaching, reaching. So there's that lift, but there's also the shoulder blade on the back of you, drawing back and down. Stay nice and stable through the shoulders. And gradually you can explore taking this movement up and over towards your right. So the whole left side of you now, finding more and more space and expansion. And then if you like, you'd have a little play at allowing that left arm be drawn back, your gaze might follow. Then you could allow it to come forward. You might even take the hand through. And again, just reaching up over possibly feelings in that left-hand side. And then if you're happy to, let that left hand come down. So my gaze now looking at the right knee. And just allowing myself to explore. I'm just going as far to that leg as you're comfortable to go. Now, some of you may be happy like myself to travel closer and then just let the head surrender its weight. But no problem if you want to work with that at a different point. And then we can just allow the hands to come forward. We might have a little pause here. Just sliding the arms back up and out, and already feeling much warmer as we just allow the spine to begin to explore the lovely rotation within it. Good to tap in to these rotations daily to keep away stiffness. So left hand to right thigh, the right hand can just walk a little further behind. We don't have to push or pull, but rather just allow the breath to remind us of our roots beneath, and that sense of lift out through the crown of the head. And each cycle of the breath, you may feel a little deepening into that pose. You may travel a little further. And then letting that movement take you the opposite direction. Again, not to be in any hurry. This may be with that left knee to begin. A reminder of what's going on in the shoulder blades, and just feeling a spiral-like movement traveling up through the spine. The different areas, lumbar curvature, thorax, spine, very different areas. And just looking softly out behind. And again, you can release at any point. And again, allow both arms now just to fly up and enjoy that sense that from the roots we can grow. Never ending, and that we don't have to become rigid in the arms. Nothing. And then letting the arms float down. And I just take the fingertips a little behind, so I keep dropping through the pelvis. So just the sense of lifting through the heart. And keep your gaze to the navel if you wish, unless you feel happy to let the head drop back a little. But really watching that range of movement for you in the neck. Where does it feel freeing and lengthening, and where does it become like hanging on to this heavyweight neck strain? So be kind to our necks. Very complex area, what's going on the top of the neck, into the old brain, etc. And also then as it feeds into the upper back, upper shoulders. A very rich area with a bit of digging and delving. Okay, wonderful. And then as always, it can be very nice to end any sequence for the spine with some forward movement. So, I've come forward to the ground, but that doesn't mean everyone would join me. You could have a chair in front of you to rest forward a little, or some bolsters or blocks. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to allow one foot to move a little further away and just giving a rub, bit of a tension into the sole of that foot, the toes. You can do no harm in working on your feet. You can do a lot of good often, right? Just giving a nice rub over that whole area. Right, a little wiggle of toes, whatever feels good for you. Maybe a little massage of the lower leg, a little kneading within the inner thighs. Right? Whatever feels good and allows you to feel a little more connected to yourself. So sometimes time with ourselves is short, right? But as you can see from this morning's practice, it may just be coming to sit comfortably on a chair or a nicely supported seated pose on the floor, and just focusing in on your breath and finding some mobilization for the shoulders and the spine, and easing out any tensions that have gathered there. So I hope you enjoyed that little pocketful there of yoga, movement, breath. And we'll add in a few more little pocketfuls along the way for you to tap into. So thank you.